The Legacy Files with Grant Cameron.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Grant Cameron, and I'm joined by my co-author and assistant, Desta Barnaby. And we're going to do another Legacy Files episode today. Thanks to everybody for listening. And we remind you that if you have any questions or comments, please do them. We got a lot from the last one, and we learn from what people say because sometimes people bring up questions that we never heard before or make challenges where we have to really sort of think ourselves whether we're really on the right track. But Desta had something she had seen from the whistleblower who was behind the Constellation document that if you're following the congressional stuff, this was leaked to Congress. And Desta has a comment, and we sort of have maybe a little bit different opinions as to this comment. So we're gonna look at the comment that was made by Matthew Brown, I think it was, and then we'll have some comments about it. So Desta's going to share her screen here, and here's the comment. So Desta, you can read it, and then we'll discuss it.
Can you see it?
Yep.
So this is so it was a three-part series that they did with Matthew Brown. It's on the Weaponized podcast. I mean, it was really good. All three episodes were really good, but the last 3 or 5 minutes or whatever of the third part where they just say like, if you were to be killed tomorrow, what do you want the world to know? Basically, to me, it was pretty mind-blowing. So I just wanted to go through because this is not that vague, but it's vague enough that it's really, I wonder what he meant by all this. And I don't have here, and I don't know if you know that he also tweeted something even more cryptic right after this, not right after this, just a couple days ago, basically about going to Sirius, and he tagged Elon Musk in it. That's even more. But anyway, so that is a different part of this. But I think that he's coming at all this through a really esoteric lens, and especially after that tweet. But so that's my kind of view of what I thought he was talking about. But we could just go through it and see like what. So if he was killed, what he thinks that everyone should know from what he knows being a whistleblower and having all this background information. So it says, we live in a dream, a carefully constructed reality. I don't know if you should, let's just break it down into each one of these. Yeah, it's really short here. So this one is like obvious to me because this is what we talk about all the time, whether we're living in a holographic universe or a simulation, or like that it's a constructed reality, that it's not what we think it is, that it's something that someone is constructing around us, whether it's a simulation and there's like, beings behind the computer that's running this, or what. But of course, this is also a Gnostic thought and also a Hindu one, also, right? Like
Mhm.
Maya would be, the illusion that we're living in or whatever. And the Gnostics would say that this world is created by like a false god and is run by the archons, basically. So that it's not run by the gods you think it is, the God from the Old Testament or whatever. It's run by, a false god, and that's why we're imprisoned in this construct kind of thing. Philip K. Dick is another one, I guess, that would say that it's an iron, what did he call it? The black iron prison,
Mhm.
which is the same thing. It's a control system that whoever it is that actually constructed this reality made, and we're kind of like the people that they're either, like sucking energy from, like Bob Monroe would say, the loosh factory, right? That we're here and all these beings are doing is they're in the ether or the whatever you want to call it, and they're just they live by our suffering and they're sucking our energy out for their life kind of thing. But that's a whole bunch of different views of that one sentence anyways. But what do you think?
Okay, the way I would change it is that this is the victim thing. You can see it in two ways. The way I see it is that there's nobody out there. That's what Jim Van says. There does not appear to be any there. So my concept of reality is, yeah, it's a constructed reality, but we're the ones that are constructing it. We are the sparks of the divine. We are actually God. We are part of God, reflecting back experiences. and the consciousness and the Akashic field gets bigger, it gets more complex, the whole universe gets more complex, and that's what it's all about. But we're in this reality learning lessons. That my idea is that God did not create the heaven and the earth. God created the sparks of the divine, and we're creating the heavens and the earth through consciousness, through building structures through consciousness. Consciousness is primary. That's all there is. So we're constructing it, and we are in charge of this thing. So I always say it always changes if you look at the reincarnation world. If you look at the one world and you say, well, it's unfair. How come how come I'm not a billionaire? How come I got stuck being, a refugee or living in Africa with nothing, and my kids are starving. My two kids starved to death and stuff like that. And it's this victim mentality. And if it's a reincarnation world, then you have this concept that you're aware of, that most people are aware of, is that it's a planned thing, that you make the decision to come back into this karmic world or whatever to learn certain lessons or whatever, and that whatever position you find yourself in that you think is really bad, you got to realize that you decided to come in at this time, this place, in the middle of this mess that you're complaining about, and maybe you came in for a certain reason. So that's the difference that I would see, is that instead of blaming somebody out there for whatever is going on, we realize that we've come into the world, and that we've chosen whatever situations we're in, and that it doesn't come down to what cards are dealt to you. That's what most people think. That's why people play lotteries, because they believe that success is got to do with luck. So they play the lottery, but it's got to do with your cards that are dealt to you. It's how you play your cards. That people will be given the same thing, and one will succeed, one won't. And so that's my difference, is that I never see the victim thing. I always see it as a deal that whatever's happened, like in psychology, that if until you accept whatever situation you're in, whether you did it, it's your fault or not. Until you do that, you can never be cured of whatever psychological problem you have, because you're always going to take the victim mentality and always break down and never do anything. But if you accept it, so that's my difference, is this idea that somebody's here oppressing us and doing stuff, and people are doing whatever they're doing. Everybody thinks they're saving the world. So the people who have all the money think that's the way it's supposed to be. It was intended this way, that they should have all the money, that they're just doing the right thing. And so everybody's doing the same thing. And you'll see stuff like that with Jim Semivan, where the difference of opinion, where people say, well, the government, and I think this is in the last part of your quote here, where we're blocked from learning what we need to know. Just in the public world, we're blocked from advancing in science. So the way I see it is that Jim Semivan would say, this is a PED, it's run by the executive, it's run by Trump. So Trump is actually running the cover up, and it's run out of the White House. And they, for whatever reason, you've got 15 administrations that have had to deal with the UFO problem, and that's Republicans and Democrats, and everybody's done the same thing, which leads to the idea that you talk about, whether it's Jim Semivan, who says no, the people that are running it are actually good people. They think they're doing the right thing. They may be doing the wrong thing, but they think they're doing the right thing. And the same with James Lukatsky, who ran the OSAP program. So James Lukatsky said, I never saw anything illegal, but I saw high security. So that's the whole idea, is that it's built on fear. The whole culture of military culture is built on fear. So you have levels and levels and levels and levels of security. And it's this thing like we're the good guys. And if you're against us, if you're these UFO people that want this stuff out, then you're the bad guys. And it becomes this game where it's our team versus your team, and it's this separation thing. And I see it a bit different, where we're being blocked, yes, but the people who are blocking it have actually been given authorization to do this. That they were given the money. This process was set up not just for UFOs, but for all sorts of weapons programs, where they are in control, and they say, to hell with you, we're in control, we're saving the world. You're just a troublemaker, and we're gonna sort of slow you down. And so they have all these securities that, as a program, you say, well, they're blocking. Yes, a security program, but not just a UFO program. It's the whole thing, where the 10 times the money, according to Eric Davis, 10 times the money is spent on a program for security as for the program. So you got to realize they have this mentality that there's all these bad people out there, including you and me and stuff like that, and that they have to block this because they're saving the world with whatever they're doing, and it's all good, and they deserve the money they're getting or whatever.
Yeah, for sure. And I would say that also possibly what he's talking about is something like free energy or like zero point energy, where I think that people like Tesla or T. Townsend Brown or whatever, like people in the past have had their labs raided and all of their work, stolen and taken away, and then it's just put somewhere in the
Yeah.
government, and maybe they have patents for it and maybe they don't, but they also, obviously everyone knows that they steal things from people who like inventors who are inventing things. And so maybe this is also like we're blocked from the false science, meaning that if there is some kind of zero point energy and they know how to like, basically power everything that we have on Earth for free, they're obviously not going to tell us any of that kind of stuff because it's going to change how science works, and it's going to, kill the big, you know, uh, oil. So it's
Yeah.
not the way that things are actually run, and it's going to like create, a problem to the things that they're trying to do, which is, make money. And all these people are the big gas and big oil and big farm and everything are supporting all these people, the politicians. So that could be a big part of it as well.
Yeah,
Um,
you're trying to stop the world from changing because as you and I know, it's like this last line where it in the second last line, we live in a matrix. And that's what I think Jim Semivan talks about, where he says that they haven't made any sort of developments on the technological front and that it's this matrix idea, this idea where you've got to admit that we are not in control, that it's this Maya thing is real, that you do create what's in front of you, and they're still trying to figure this out. That they're still in this physical world thing, and they're still trying to figure this thing out because that's what some event said that in this 7 hour briefing, he basically got the idea that they had made some advances, but it was not on the technological front. It was on this matrix idea, this stuff that just blew him away. And then they wanted to give another briefing, and he said, "No, I've had enough. I can't take any more of this." He was just because he lives in this world of fear. And he said he was just horrified by what they were showing him, of what they had actually developed on this psychic front. And he said, I don't want to see anymore. Forget it. I don't want another briefing. And he turned down learning more about it. And that's where this matrix thing, I think, is the cover up part that you may have free energy, but you got to remember, I always point out that all energy is free. I mean, the universe doesn't charge us for energy, whether it's gas or whether it's hydro, but you've got to develop it. So you can get all the stuff you want. If you get land and get the oil, you can get all you want. Nobody, the universe is not going to charge you. And that when it comes down, when if this there is a anti-gravity technology, then it's going to be still controlled by the people who are controlling it right now. Because in the United States, you're starting to see this more and more that you have 15 billionaires who are running the country, and as according to Ray Hernandez, who did audit, he was IRS for people who died, millionaires and billionaires. He told me, let me tell you, Grant, none of them pay any taxes. So they've got this situation, and how are you going to change this? How are you going to move this around when these people are in control of the whole thing? And that may be one of the problems we have, is that the people that are controlling us are the people who are making money, and there's no chance that they're going to give it out. Why would you give it out if you even Dr. Eric Walker told us you're never going to get the answers, so just go away and do something else. That's what he told us. You're never going to get the answer. There's no way they're going to give away their power and their money, whether it's money or whether it's power. They're not going to say, okay, you're right. We should spread the wealth and give everybody free energy and help the poor people. That you see right now. I mean, they cut all the money for programs to poor people around the world, like billions of dollars. The people who are in control, and it's going more that way all the time. This more rich people, very rich, and very very poor people, and nobody in the middle.
yeah, I would say that it's again, I'm gonna take it from a more esoteric perspective, and because that's what the Gnostics also see, that this is a matrix, and so it's not necessarily the government that is holding us in this matrix. It's more like the control system of whatever is actually
Yeah,
controlling the whole world, right? So I would think this might mean that it's actually, one step above the government kind of
yeah.
thing. It's just how our reality is created. But they would say that that it's like distractions and fear that is part of the control system. They're purposefully making everyone not be aware of themselves, their higher selves, and their own, individual power, you might say, or whatever. But it's like making you not be interested in what is behind the phenomena, like what is a UFO, like what is, where are we really from, what is really happening, kind of thing, by having, a lot of sports, games, and TV and distractions like social media and like
Yeah.
your phone in general. Just so it could be from that perspective as well, who knows.
But the phenomena is doing exactly the opposite. It wants you to know. It's sort of like trying to get you away from the TV and the games and stuff. And in the end, it comes down to I'm a big Michael Newton fan. This idea that when you die, you go in front of the council and they say how to work out. And you and I will go. When we die, we're going to go, holy shit, was that a good one? It's like, holy, I got to be in the middle of this huge circus of events that is like, instead of you could have been just like a farmer and just lived an ordinary life. And we were sort of on the very edge of how reality works. And we came in, and when we come out, I'm sure we're just going to go like, wow, that was a circus. Almost like the Chinese say, may you live in interesting times. And that's our thing where this is going to be one of our key lives that we live that's going to be like a highlight of all the lives, because a lot of the lives we'll live, we may be a refugee with no country, or a poor person, or just a farmer, or something like that, and we got to live a life that wasn't just simple. It was a very important life where hopefully we learned, because again, that's the whole idea of coming into this reality, is trying to remember who you actually are and how the world actually works. And you and I are far down that road, and that the vast majority of people haven't got a clue. I mean, I'll tell you, and I'll end with this. I live in a suite that my son has here, and one of his friends came from Winnipeg. And so, of course, he said, "Well, how many books have you written?" And I was talking to him and stuff, and he's sort of interested, but he said, this stuff, and this is where disclosure is coming. He says, "It looks like they're starting to release this stuff. What do you think?" And then I started talking, and he said, "Oh, stop." He said, "You lost me 3 sentences ago." And I go, "Okay." And it's like, that's it. Stop talking, because they just aren't there. Most people just aren't there. This guy has season tickets to Winnipeg Jets, and he works as a salesman. His wife's a nurse, and they're busy. They got a big, huge house in Winnipeg. $700,000-800,000 house in Winnipeg and stuff. And it just, like he said, "Stop. You lost me 3 sentences ago." And I just started. And that's what you got to realize, is that you and I sort of have this thing, but then it comes down to the Bible saying, "To who much is given, much is expected." So you and I can't go when we leave the world and say, "Oh, well, we were going to do this and we didn't help, and we were supposed to help get this Western and we didn't do it," and stuff like. We can't say we didn't know. You and I have more responsibility than the average person to take this very important material that we have, and to try to get the idea across to people, to help them in their lives to understand who are they really, and what's actually going on. Why are they here? Where are they going to go when they die? And what are they supposed to be doing here on Earth?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll just finish these two things. My perspective here is like the we are not free. The reality has far more to it than you've been allowed to believe, and God is real. God is real is really where that was like a big one too for me, because it sounds like he's either coming from a really religious perspective, or I don't even know. That's the part that really changes it all. But for the reality has more to it than we're allowed to believe, I think, is that you can also talk on. But I think if you can come at that from a perspective of doing some kind of psychedelics, I think that if you go to some of these different or trance-like states, and you're kind of outside of how you normally think, and like the normal perception of me being Desta, what I have to do every single day kind of thing, when you're outside of that, you really can get a much different perspective of that. This is nothing, not anything that we're normally living in our day-to-day, minute-to-minute life is anything like the reality of how this world actually works.
Right.
I think, and that's from even a near-death experience and different perspectives like that. You have to really be in one of these different states to be able to see that. I think that is like that most people, again, not just because they're not interested in these subjects, but because they've never even thought about going outside of this kind of realm and seeing what this realm is kind of made of. And yeah, anyways, and then of course the God is real brings it all back to like something is real out, whether it's outside of this matrix that he's talking about, outside of the simulation, as we're saying, someone has to be putting on the simulation, but whatever it is, whether you call it God or source or the divine or whatever, it's the fact that he's including it here is interesting as well for me.
Yeah, and so we can go to the next one. The one I want to do next is channeling, and we can actually do the thing with channeling and the vision you got about how the world works, how the world started, and that's the whole idea that you were in a field that's beyond the normal thing, and you can start to pick up information. So let's close it here, and then let's do the channeling one, which I'm always very interested in.
Sounds good. Thanks, Grant.
Yeah, thank you.